Well, here I am again. Now this one's about Sinars, so it's a bit advanced. It's for photographers that want to have a look at large format cameras, etc., like this one. Now this is a Sinar, and we're going to be talking about Sinars, what we can do with them, what to look out for when you buy one, and the difference between the two major Sinars, which is the Sinar P and Sinar F. I'm not going to go into the F1 and the F2 and the Sinar P1, 2 and 3, because that will just get more complicated, because they're roughly the same. So let's get on and we'll talk about Sinars. Now before I get into a series of films about macro, I thought I'd show you what a lot of people think they can use for macro, and this is what it is in the studio. And I want to show you the difference, because a lot of people are buying these on the internet because they're cheap, and quite rightly too. These were the proper expensive studio cameras used from about the beginnings of the 1960s. These were called monorails for obvious reasons. They're on one rail. This is the Sinar F, this is the Sinar P. Now, of course, we mustn't forget the first of the Sinars, which was the Sinar Norma. Now, the Norma was a lovely camera. I think better than the Sinar F. You'll get them cheaper than the Sinar F, so if you can find one, go for it. It's the Sinar Norma. It's the same compatibility for all the cameras. So the Norma, the F and the P, the C, you can mix and match. I'm going to show you the principal differences of the two. Well, one is obvious, of course. One is a lot cheaper looking and the other is a piece of engineering. They're wonderful things, they really are. I used these from around the mid-60s until 2000 when I retired. So, and of course, you needed the black hood over your head. Now, the difference, what is the principal difference? Well, they all have movements. As you see, I can tip forward that camera and I can tip forward this one. So why do we need this movement that's so important? Well, it's because, of course, it's like a tilt shift, but it'll also tilt shift, go sideways, do all sorts of things. You can change the shape of the subject by moving the back. But all that's a separate thing. It really turns the camera into a tilt shift lens. Now, that's great for changing the plane of focus. So what's the big difference about that tipping forward? Well, this one, the Sinar P, it tips from the center. If you see it, it's on a center axis, which is much, much better for macro. For the reason, if you're doing really close-up macro, you're less likely to use your subject, which tends to disappear out of the image. Now this one pivots from the bottom. What that means is you have to refocus, whereas this one it might not be necessary. You have to almost certainly reset your image because it's gone. You've changed the position of the lens rather than just turning the lens. So this really isn't very suitable. Now I've seen on eBay these at €300 and these at €400. There's something wrong. This camera is the bee's knees. But you can take the front of this one and put it onto this one, which gives you only the back that moves from the bottom, but the front that moves from the center. That, in fact, was sold as the Sinar C. So all you're doing is making up bits. Now, of course, they're lacking one thing, and that is a bellows that goes between them, like that. Completely interchangeable. These cameras, as far as I know, all the parts are interchangeable. Now, there's one thing I forgot, and that's what we call the wide-angle bellows. Now, why are we going to need one of these? If you're going to use the camera on normal photography, it's almost certain you will need wide angle bellows, so look out for those as well. You'll see here that I've got my Canon 7D attached, and what I'm finding is that it's not ideal for normal pictures, although it's possible if you have the right lenses. But it's great for macro. You can get as close as you want. There is absolutely no limit. You can go right in and get any, it just depends on the lens you've got on, etc. Now I'm going to be using this in my macro films with a Pentacon lens on. Why a Pentacon? Because the Pentacon was made for 6.6 or 6.7, I can't remember. And it will allow me to get much more movement because the lens, of course, has a slightly wider angle of view. So that will enable me to use all the movements of the camera, and I hope we'll have fun with that. Well, here's an example. Very simple. What we can do is we put the front of a Sinar P, back of the Sinar P, with the bellows fully extended. We have a bellows, a wide angle bellows there. We have the front of the F, we have a wide angle bellows, and the back of the F with the Canon 7D on it. Now, can you imagine what a macro I can get with that? Now, I think it's important that I do a little guide on buying a Sinar P. I won't do it for all the cameras, but for buying a Sinar P, because it is the most complex, what to look out for if you're thinking about buying one. The little mistakes, the little faults, what can be replaced easily, what can't. Let's get on with that. Well, this will probably be as the camera is presented to you, on one bar in the middle. First thing to do, undo the end of the bar. And you'll see there is a black. Very important that that is black and not red. And the same the other end. The red one is the extension. And you'll see on the extension, of course, the other end goes into it. Pop that back on. If you're very lucky, you'll find one with a ruler in it. And that was the original one from the Sinar Norma. Now we've got a problem with this handle. That is not original. If you look at the original handle on the Sinar F, it's like that. But that, does it matter? Someone's repaired it, they put a door handle on it, you're going to pay less money for it. So, let's face it, it works. It depends whether you're somebody who wants their equipment absolutely perfect. Professionals don't. They tend to repair things with glue. Now the thing is, take the bellows off. Have a good look. Have a really good look at them, make sure they're not damaged. If they are, bear in mind you can always get them on eBay. Although they're about €80, I think. So we'll just pop those back on. All these parts, if there is a problem, you can get on eBay, but you know, it's nice to have one that's complete. Right, now we've got the camera, we have a look at it. We try every one of these movements. These are a little stiff, but I'd rather have them stiff than loose, because a really well-worn one will come down on its own. What about this one? That's right to left movement. And if I, oh, look at that. That's loose. Now, if I change that, that turns it that way. But we'll have to have a look at that. We'll have a look at the rest. So all this is working fine. What about the sideways movement? Sideways movement is here, and that's working fine as well. So it's even got the nice stops on it. So that's working very well. Focus, let's go, focus, let's go all the way. And that is fine as well. Oh! That's turning on its own. Shouldn't do that. Let's come back. Oh, can't get it back. So I've got to pull it back and it won't come. Hang on. Ah, that's it. So I put it back and that's it. Now we've got to, I'll explain to you what that is in a second. We've got another movement here which is rarely used, and that's to take the whole thing forward. So you can get an awful lot of movement by using the two together. That really is good, but I very rarely used that. Exactly the same thing on the back. Have to look at it all, see if everything works. That's right. Good. Come back with the focus. Let's test that. My hand's in the way probably. Up, and it turns, and it's supposed to stop. So we've got the same problem there. It's not a big problem, but I'll show you what it is. Right to left works fine. Oh, again, that switch to change from that movement to that movement. Now, whether the movement in there is on the main bar or on the plastic, I don't know, but it's very probably on the main bar. It's very probably on the plastic, so we just slip that off. There's a little pin that holds it, get a new one from Sinar and slip it on. So that's fine. We'll have a good look round. It seems well used, but it's in good condition, everything's working. What about this? Well, what's happened there is that this has become out of alignment and someone's pushed it forward too far, and in fact it's still touching. That piece is touching this piece as you come forward and just pushes that out. Someone's tried to hammer it back. Again, not a problem, pure aesthetics, that's all. So there's a screw being played with there. It's been put back badly, probably when the handle was put on. There's another example. We've got two screws that aren't the same. All that will save you money. Just barter, barter, barter. Get the price down. This is the thing to do if you buy one from a shop. You go through it and you cut the price. Pick 20 euro here, 20 euro there, and you might even get paid to take it away. Well, let's have a look why we've got a problem with this focus. We take it back all the way, and in there we can see a plastic rack, if you like. It's got little teeth on it. I'll take you in and we'll have a look. Well, there's the culprit. There's a little bit of plastic there. And that's dropped off this side. It's been forced off this bit. Someone's trying to force it forward too far. Now, this plastic rack is very easy to replace. You undo that screw, you undo the screw the other end, take off this end plate, which is just two screws, and the same thing the other end, and then you can replace it very easily, and they don't cost a lot of money. I mean, that's a standard sort of thing. You see how dirty it is? That's because all the oil or grease has just dried up. So that's extremely easy to solve, and what do we say? I would say another 50 euro off the price. One more thing to look out for is if the back of the camera fits well. This does. There's no movement in and out, so it's nice in there. This is the movement, of course, to put the slide in. Now, another way of getting money down is if it does move. The reason it's moving, take it off, is I don't know if you can see what happens there. I'll just go in closer. You should be able to see the mechanism if I turn it. There we go. So around that way, if I do some lighting. You can see the mechanism. Doesn't look much, but that holds everything in. The lens, the bellows, whatever. There are 4 different ones for 4 different uses. This thing that goes up and down, it has 2 springs under it. Those springs make it work a lot better and hold the back in place, and they can sometimes break. And hey ho, what do I see? We'll have to go in closer and have a look at that. Well, there's been some jiggery pokey around there, because that has in fact Well, it's not broken, but it's certainly been played around with, which probably means those springs have been replaced. They're working, so they must have been replaced. But it's another thing to look out for. All these things, and the same with the bellows, front and back, make sure that they're all working right. Well, there we are. We have a very old, knocked about Sinar. Costs €400. That's peanuts for a Sinar. Works perfectly in every way. Just it's not that really good looking one because it's scratched and got this and that. But it works perfectly. No problem at all. Bye. See you soon. Don't forget learnshots.com. Bye.